Greetings, I'm Tim of Govberg, and welcome to the world of Jaeger-LeCoultre. I'll be your guide to the operation and care of your Jaeger-LeCoultre Master Ultrathin Réserve De Marche. It's important to note that this automatic winding watch, should it run down, can be manually wound by turning the crown in its first position clockwise until you see the seconds hand begin to advance or you see the balance begin to beat. Now, at this point, the automatic winding system of the watch can take over and fully energize the 43-hour power reserve of this timepiece, but it's important to note that should you wish to wind it manually while tracing the power reserve scale, you cannot overwind this automatic winding timepiece, as it features a bridle-style mainspring that will slip and relieve any excess stress on the mainspring and mainspring barrel. So wind it until you feel the bridle slip, or simply wind it until you are confident that the power reserve of 43 hours is fully topped off according to the gauge. Now, it's also important to note that the watch features a radial date that can be corrected using the dimple corrector on the flank of the case and the pusher corrector tool included with the watch. When correcting the date, it's important to note that you should never attempt to manually correct it between the hours of 10 p.m. and 3:30 a.m., as these are the hours during which the automatic changeover mechanism of the date is engaged. Attempting to manually advance the date while it is engaged in changeover can severely damage the timepiece. It's important to note the limits of your watch with respect to water. The Master Ultrathin Réserve De Marche is rated to 5 ATM, which Jaeger-LeCoultre rates as sufficient for splash, rain exposure, and light bathing. However, the watch should never be used for diving or impact with the water where hydraulic shock may overcome the seals. It's also important to note that any watch with a leather strap should not be submerged or exposed to moisture, as leather is a porous natural material that will rapidly degrade if it comes in contact with water. Use textile straps or bracelets only in contact with any kind of fluid. It's also important to note that should the watch ever be exposed to detergents, cosmetics, or salt, it should be cleaned with fresh water immediately thereafter. With respect to water resistance ratings, the 5 ATM water resistance rating of this Master Ultrathin applies only as it leaves the factory or after a service with an authorized service center. Water resistance is not a static feature of a timepiece, and it naturally degrades with time, such that Jaeger-LeCoultre recommends having a water test done on the watch every 12 to 24 months to ensure that it retains its factory-rated 5 ATM or 50 meters of water resistance. Moreover, it's important that when the watch is wet, the dimple corrector for the radial date and the crown should never be employed. The watch shouldn't even be wound. Simply forego using any of the functions to adjust the watch when there's any water on the case whatsoever, as doing so could create a situation that bypasses the seals and introduces moisture to the interior of the watch. It's also important to note that the metallic hairspring of a balance can be magnetized if subjected to extreme magnetic fields such as those produced by speakers, subwoofers, high-powered wiring looms, and professional magnetic resonance imaging equipment. Should you suspect that your watch has become magnetized, take it to a Jaeger-LeCoultre authorized service center, retailer, or boutique where specialized equipment is available to demagnetize your watch. Finally, with respect to service, Jaeger-LeCoultre recommends servicing a mechanical watch approximately every 2 years. It's important to use only authorized service centers, authorized independent retailers, and factory boutiques, as these agencies alone have the trained personnel, specialized tools, and original factory replacement parts to maintain the investment and functional integrity of your timepiece, and only an authorized agency can offer a Jaeger-LeCoultre post-service warranty on your timepiece. To learn more about the operation of your Jaeger-LeCoultre Master Ultrathin Réserve De Marche, consult the manufacturer's website, jaegerlecoultre.com, where an operator's manual is available for download.